The classroom was buzzing with trash talk, until Reed threw a hand up to cut the noise. He stood his ground, letting out a sigh that screamed he was already tired of carrying the plot. He dropped the nuclear option. If he loses, he ghosts Launarise for good. He asked if that was fair. Iren took the bait immediately, grinning like he just won the lottery. Miser appointed herself the official referee, claiming she loves friendly competition. She screamed for the match to start, while the background NPCs immediately started placing bets on Reed's love life. Launarise ruined the vibe while the background characters were still chewing. Reed is actually engaged to her sister Entarise. The squad realized the game was rigged. He is already locked down by the system. Iren confirmed she is the first princess. That means they are all just tools for political alliances. Launarise kept the bad vibes rolling, apologizing for dragging him into a rigged game. She hyped up Prince Reed's squad as the ultimate art gods, guaranteeing a loss. Iren took the hit, feeling like total dead weight, but he refused to fold, telling her to trust the process. Suddenly, Mill shouted from down the hall. Launarise tried to hit the brakes, but the plot was moving too fast. She managed to squeeze out a clumsy, heartfelt cheer for him. But when the elf girl chimed in too, Iren smiled, and Launarise instantly switched to jealous rage mode. Some guy was popping off before the contest even started. Miser shut that yelling match down instantly. He called Prince Reed to the stage. Reed prepared to unveil his team's work with maximum drama. He revealed a literal masterpiece, the entire academy carved in ice. The students lost their minds at the insane detail. Even the teacher admitted this was a once-in-a-century flex. Reed soaked up the praise like he owned the place. Iren couldn't figure out how one guy pulled this off alone. But Dragonkin don't do teamwork. They only care about solo perfection. Reed decided to give Iren some unsolicited advice. He claimed Iren's raw power was trash without artistic style. In this kingdom, you need beauty to recreate the god's world. He lectured about the dark days when monsters ruled the earth, how humans fought back and bent nature to their will. He claimed that struggle gave them the knowledge to rule. This frozen capital was the ultimate trophy of that victory. He described his work as pure beauty without a single flaw. Iren took one look and said it felt empty. Reed lost it, screaming that Iren was just a sore loser. Iren smirked and told Mill to unleash the beast. Mill slammed her pot onto the table. The peanut gallery instantly started roasting the unfinished petals. Reed noticed a glitch in the matrix though. He accused her of using the container to fake the shape. Mill shut that theory down instantly. Launarise realized the truth, and she panicked. Miser yelled that water magic absolutely had to be frozen. Mill laughed. She claimed static magic just clogs the pipes. Reed stepped in to investigate. Miser knew he was cooked. Reed checked the stems. The water wasn't solid, it was moving. Mill explained that water is supposed to flow. Miser rushed in to cope with the impossible. Launarise started tearing up at the sight. The mana balance was flawless. Reed realized this wasn't a model, it was a living thing. The show wasn't over yet. Reed watched the buds tremble with energy. The entire rosebush exploded into full bloom. The display stunned the entire class into silence. Launarise begged for forgiveness, blinded by the sheer beauty of the spell. Reed stared at the result. He swallowed his pride, admitted his total defeat. Game over. Mill tried to stay humble, claiming Iren kept spamming blessings on her to secure the win. Iren didn't bother explaining the deep Dragonkin philosophy behind the technique. He knew it wouldn't click for a human brain anyway, but his train of thought got derailed. Mill was still hyping up Iren's mystic eyes as they walked away, until a voice screamed at them to halt. Some elitist snob blocked the path, yelling that country bumpkins weren't allowed in the royal guest class. Iren squinted. He recognized that face. It was Bibim. Bibim gets right in Iren's face, demanding to be called sir like a spoiled toddler. Iren tries to bail, but Bibim drops the filthy commoner insult just to force a reaction. Launarise steps in, checking his attitude immediately. Bibim roasts the girls for hanging out with a country bumpkin, then he flips the switch, putting on a greasy smile to try and slide into their DMs. Mill is actually blinded by the sparkles, thinking this clown is handsome. But when he tells them to dump the loser, Launarise hits him with the polite rejection. Mill decides she has heard enough. She bulldozes past him, ordering him to move it. Bibim is ready to throw hands. until he clocks their badges and realizes they are all royal class. He freezes up, watching the silent girl trail behind the squad. Laura drops the royal nuke, revealing she is the second princess of Fuller. Bibim's brain completely short-circuits. She doesn't wait for a bow, she just slams the door in his face. Back in class, the torture finally ends. Mill is vibrating with energy because it is finally club application time. Laura pitches the master plan, a magic exchange club. Iren loves the sound of that. It is the perfect excuse to analyze human magic without getting caught, and maybe finally understand how this bizarre species operates. The whole squad is locked in. Laura insists on a private room to avoid nosy classmates. Iren backs her up immediately. They march to the faculty office to demand some real estate. They hit a brick wall named Instructor Cygnus. He shuts down the princess immediately. He hints that her request might pass if she meets his shady conditions. He demands they recruit Lord Bibim to boost the club's prestige. Then he tries to slide into the advisor seat himself. A wild miser appears to interrupt the scheme. Cygnus tries to kick him out. Miser reminds him he does not own the school. He refuses to leave the room. Laura explains the no commoners rule. Cygnus gets personal. He attacks Miser's bloodline to shut him up. Miser ignores the insult. He snatches the form before Cygnus can react. He scans the fine print. He drops the hammer. He is the advisor now. Approved. Laura is thrilled while Cygnus is losing his mind. Miser calmly reveals the truth. The noble rule does not exist. He exposes Cygnus for trying to force his pet student onto the princess. The teacher snaps. He screams about his political connections, proving Miser right in front of everyone. Iren realizes the guy is just a puppet for the Bibim family. Miser catches him staring and issues a warning. Never judge a book by its cover or you will get burned. Cygnus is still throwing a massive tantrum in the background. Miser apologizes for the drama. Then he asks the most important question. Where do they want their base of operations? The squad is officially in business. Laura is absolutely beaming. Laura absolutely lost it over the sheer size of their new base. They found the most critical tactical asset immediately, a mountain of free snacks, plus a fully furnished bedroom for the inevitable post-mission crash. But the real MVP feature was waiting upstairs, a private sky garden. Iren noted the security was tighter than a celebrity rehab center. Laura didn't care about the locks. She summoned the boys like unruly puppies. They poked their heads in and froze. This wasn't a club room. It was a military-grade combat arena ready for war. Laura cranked her divine eye to maximum voltage to scan the area. She usually kept the limiter on to avoid frying her brain, but today required 4K resolution. Mill stepped into the spotlight, promising a magic trick just for her. Laura's sensors picked up something weird. The ambient mana wasn't just floating, it was dive bombing straight into Mill's core. She zoomed in, realizing she had the physics backwards. It wasn't just consumption. Mill was cycling the energy back out like a living reactor. The entire room dissolved, merging with her spiritual pressure. This was the Dragon Royal cheat code, becoming one with nature's circulatory system. Laura started weeping at the HD graphics. While Iren stood there, wondering why everyone was being so dramatic, Mill finished her flex and tagged Iren into the ring. But he threw a curveball, demanding Laura teach him the manual chants for earth magic. Mill looked at him like he had two heads. Why use slow human words when you have instant casting? Laura shrugged and agreed to the handicap match. But while they played school, darkness was gathering at the Celebrant Palace. Back at the palace, the nobles were losing it. The Dragon Clan was making moves, and they were terrified for their kids. Count Norwood stepped in to babysit the room. He promised the envoy was human, insisting their sons could handle the heat. The king demanded absolute silence. Once the room chilled out, the count dropped the classified order. The verdict stays secret. They were betting the house on Prince Reed and the count's own son to carry the team. The king agreed, mostly because the count bribed him with some rare plants. But the second the count turned away, the king's smile vanished. He knew these kids weren't ready for the nightmare heading their way. While the other nobles were popping champagne and hyping up their sons, Miser was outside having a full meltdown. As the count's heir, he couldn't cope with the fact that a country bumpkin had beaten him to the royal class. He pictured the guy surrounded by princesses and just snapped. It had to be a trick. He convinced himself the girls were brainwashed. and swore to rescue them from the peasant. Meanwhile, the so-called mastermind just sneezed out of nowhere. Someone is definitely talking trash. Reed is out here playing detective with his binoculars, convinced he is the main character fighting corruption. He is roasting everyone else for actually studying, calling them sheep. Then he spots something suspicious. Meanwhile, some poor student is fighting for his life against a lump of clay. Iren watches this struggle bus and realizes the skill ceiling here is basically on the floor. He ducks behind a tree to copy the technique, channels a tiny drop of magic, and boom, instant mug. Class actually starts and Iren looks bored out of his mind. Liz tries to warn him that the clay is super unstable, walking over to give him a lecture. Then she freezes. Reed spins around and absolutely loses it. Iren didn't just make a mug, he built an entire miniature estate. Liz calls it a masterpiece. Reed starts screaming hacks, claiming he cheated, while the girls in the back are whispering about the new guy. Iren thinks back on his game plan. He realized that if he chants like the locals, he looks less like a demon lord and more like a student. He remembers faking a weak wind spell just to lower their guard. Plus, having Launarise call his magic beautiful was the ultimate flex to shut everyone up. The vibe in class shifted instantly. Now it's a total sweat fest to avoid losing to a commoner. Reed took it the hardest. He ghosted everyone to grind alone in the library. Liz was loving it. Finally, a class that doesn't just flex their daddy's money. She dropped the mic. Summer break was just around the corner. Mill dropped some philosophy. Humans have a nasty habit of rejecting anything foreign. She realized it the second Iren started using standard human magic techniques. The moment he conformed, the class stopped treating him like an alien invader. It's all about safety in numbers. Sameness makes people feel relieved. Instead of getting stronger alone, humans build magic systems that any scrub can use. Since we're weak individually, we push away the unknown. It's just basic survival logic. Mill pointed out that Iren used to be weak too, but he compensated with pure insanity. He agreed. Beating the 7 Dragon Lords required reckless, dirty tactics that royalty would never expect. And honestly, Mill absolutely loves that scrappy, try-hard energy. Back at the academy, Mill was already hyping up summer break. But first, they had to survive Liz's final exam on light and dark magic. She promised massive extra credit for a successful cast, but warned the difficulty curve was insane. Even she couldn't stick the landing. She called on Reed to explain why the system was rigged. Reed didn't hesitate. He called the spell formula incomplete trash and offered to demo the glitch live. He cast light, but it fizzled out like a dying battery. He proved that even with perfect code, the spell barely functioned. Liz tried to hand him a participation trophy, but Reed wasn't having it. He claimed the meta was about to change. He tagged in Iren, asking if he was ready to break the game. Iren stepped up. The class leaned in as Liz demanded a show. Iren took a breath, thanking Laura for teaching him how to pretend to be human. He began the casting sequence. Liz's eyes went wide. She recognized that specific chant instantly. A pure orb of light manifested near the ceiling. While normal magic relied on basic math, this was something alien. It was undiscovered tech that defied every rule in the textbook. Iren held the sun in his palm, claiming he'd patched the formula for public use. Liz pressed him on dark magic. Iren played it cool, admitting he only had the light plugin installed. Liz grinned. She knew he was special. Reed realized this wasn't just a class, it was a crime scene. He warned that the full Drex Society was gonna come knocking. Iren didn't even know who the ops were. Miser ignored the politics and addressed the crowd. He declared that ignoring superior magic was just plain stupid. Reed stepped up, ready to copy the cheat code immediately. The audience lost their minds. Later, Reed was suddenly all about that progress. He called out, sensing an opportunity. Iren noticed the hostility was gone. Then Reed dropped the hammer, asking who he really was. Iren played the humble NPC card perfectly. Reed scoffed, deciding to let the lie slide. But the interrogation got interrupted. The fan club mobbed him, begging for an encore. Iren folded under the pressure and took the job. That was the green light. The girls swarmed him like he was the last slice of pizza. Lord B-Beam was in the bushes conducting some highly questionable surveillance. Then his own students caught him lacking in 4K. He tried to play it cool. He claimed his actual class was too basic for his massive genius. He ignored the accusations to focus on the real show. Through the scope, he saw Mill charging a light spell with way too much juice. Iren screamed for her to stop, but she was already full send. She unleashed a solar flare right in the middle of the courtyard. Bibim was using light amplifying binoculars at that exact second. He took a critical hit to the retinas and hit the deck screaming. Miser confirmed the safety shields saved them. Without them, they would all be shopping for white canes. Iren announced his return. Loud and clear. He froze. Someone was blocking the path. Sansaluna. She was already there to welcome the boy home. The orange dragon matriarch herself. She immediately tried to stuff his face with honey pie. Then she offered warm milk. Iren screamed he was way past the bottle phase. Didn't matter. To her, they were still babies. Turns out, Sansaluna raised the entire royal dragon roster herself. She ran this sanctuary like one big happy family, blood-related or not. Back inside, the team finally relaxed. Mom told him to chill, but Iren had work on the brain. He needed to know if the Dragon Arts Master was finally awake. She confirmed he was up. Well, sort of. She claimed the others were standing right behind him. Iren's soul left his body. He spun around in a total panic, but she was just trolling him. Said he looked cute when he was scared. The squad was with eyes on, but more importantly, Big Sis Gura was finally awake. Apparently, a royal kid almost got snatched. Nap time was officially canceled. Sansaluna kicked him out of the kitchen to let the pie bake. He figured Gura was chilling at the Dragon's Rest, mostly because Mill left him on read. That is just a fancy name for the VIP sleeping quarters. Deep down, the Dragon Royals sleep forever to avoid a natural game over, but he was just hitting the shallow end to check the baby cradle. A glowing silhouette blocked the doorway. Iren froze. The stranger launched a high-speed ambush, straight for the throat. The guy moved like a glitch. Closed the gap instantly. He reached out with a shadowy claw to send him to the lobby. Iren didn't panic. Flashed a hand sign. Blasted the guy back with a massive vertical geyser. The impact echoed through the hall. They reset to neutral. The attacker flared his aura. Ready for round 2. Iren dropped into a stance and exhaled the stress. Turns out it was just Master Delon running a vibe check on his reflexes. He preached constant vigilance like a true tryhard. Iren just nodded along, happy he didn't get deleted. Master Dylon immediately jumped to the fun part, total extermination. He assumed Iren was ready to delete the entire human server. Iren panicked and shouted he hadn't made the call yet. Dylon scoffed, ranting that humans were glitchy trash with zero benefits. Desperate to dodge the lecture, Iren asked for his sister. But Dylon shrugged. She was already gone to see the Holy Mother. So Delon pivoted to something less violent, pointing to the crib. Iren gazed down at her peaceful face. She was the only real family he had left since being scavenged from the forest. But the mood tanked fast. Turns out, human adventurers had almost snatched her recently. Iren realized the master wasn't just babysitting. He was on guard duty. Delon confirmed he was ready to send any returning invaders straight to the lobby. He was still furious that he'd slept through the first raid like a total amateur. His face twisted into a demon mask. He dropped the law. Any human who steps here gets deleted. Iren just stared, feeling the pressure spike. Delon wasn't having it, ordering Iren straight back to the Holy Mother. Sansaluna stepped in to defend the kid, telling Delon to chill out. But Iren ignored the drama, rushing to hug his mom and his sister Izam, the Indigo Dragon Princess. She was totally out cold, so Iren screamed to reboot her system. She woke up just to complain about her nap being ruined. Mom warned that disturbing her sleep usually results in an instant game over. Mom was hyper-focused on her pie timer, but Izam shot up in a blind panic about paperwork. Then, the real alert dropped. Intruders in the forest. Iren knew exactly who it was. Adventurers. They were targeting the sleeping quarters. Izam dropped the intel, then immediately went back to being AFK. Iren screamed at her to wake up. That is her territory, she cannot sleep through a raid. Mom just shrugged, mentioning she already unleashed Delon on them. Iren froze. That meant the master was about to delete everyone. He sprinted out, promising to be back for dessert. He tore across the wasteland, burning straight through his stamina. The master wasn't playing by the old rules anymore. He had ditched the peace treaty. He was ready to game end everyone. Iren choked on the realization. He didn't want to see humans get deleted today. But the guests had already arrived. 5 clueless noobs looking for loot. Bro was confident. He thought a legal loophole made them invincible. The mage agreed, calling it a free walk-in pantry. They marched right into the grinder, excited for the treasure hunt. A squad of loot-hungry adventurers pulls up to the shrine, but Iren cuts the heist short. He screams at them to stay away from the sleeping quarters, leaving the party staring at him like he is a glitch in the simulation. The tank flexes his adventurer license, but the mage laughs off Iren's warning. She claims the Dragonkin clan can't touch humans thanks to the ancient pact. They think a piece of paper gives them invincibility cheats. That arrogance flips a dark switch in Iren's head. Memories of his master and friends flood back. He mutters that he can't forgive this disrespect, confusing his own partner. He snaps, roaring at the intruders to stop insulting everyone. The adventurers just blink, having zero clue why the NPC is yelling at them. Iren stands his ground and blocks the ruins. He offers a deal. Leave now and you won't get sent to the lobby. The goons just roll their eyes at the inconvenience. They decide to force their way through. The hood suggests deleting the kid, and the warrior agrees to teach him a painful lesson. Iren realizes diplomacy is dead. He stops talking. He grips his hilt. It is time to dance. Hoodie steps up, screaming out a fancy technique name. Tank swings his sword, demanding Iren just get sent to the lobby. Blade sweeps in, but Iren sidesteps like a ghost, stares him down, completely unimpressed. Mage mocks his buddy for getting juked by a literal child. That bruises the ego, so the warrior goes all out, swings for the fences, hits nothing but after images, realizes way too late that he is totally outclassed. Tank starts losing his mind trying to land a single hit. Iren notices the fatal mistake. They are attacking one by one. Charges up a little surprised to punish the stupidity. Sudden freeze drops the temperature. Girl screams. Party panics. Air turns into razor-sharp ice. Healer stares in horror. Crystals form out of thin air. Iren confirms the plan. Delete the healer first. Goons start trembling. They think he is from the legendary Dragonkin clan. Tank loses his nerve and tries to turn tail. Turning your back on Iren? Massive rookie mistake. Slams a palm strike right into the open chest. Sends him flying through the forest like a broken ragdoll. Crashes through 3 zip codes before finally hitting the dirt. Iren pulled up to the temple, looking way too calm for a scrap. The enemy squad panicked. They screamed he was dangerous and tried to jump him. The mage prepped a spell. Iren sprinted in to shut that down instantly. The archer took aim. Then he saw Iren standing right next to his teammate. He froze up, shaking. He was terrified of friendly fire. Iren looked him dead in the eye. The pressure was so heavy it literally snapped the guy's spine. He screamed like a banshee, dropping his loot in pure terror. One goon was already factory reset, drooling on the floor. Iren grinned. His dragon aura had scrambled their circuits. The mage got salty and swore revenge. She tried a fireball. Iren outplayed her with an instant explosion counter. The spell hit like a truck. She screamed while getting sent to the lobby. Iren stepped through the smoke, looking for the next victim. The hooded guy gasped. He realized it was game over. Bodies hit the floor. Iren stood alone in the clearing. Iren wipes the sweat off. The anti-human nuke is officially sealed. He checks the bodies on the floor. They are still breathing, so he cues up a quick healing spell. Then a voice drops from above to praise his work.
It's the master!
Iren steps up and volunteers to mop up the leftover trash mobs himself, but the old man waves him off. He promises he won't steal the kid's XP. Internally, though, the master is shook. Iren just rewrote a spell mid-cast. That is a skill level he can't even touch. They switch to roast battle mode. The master critiques his form, but Iren claps back. He claims his magic stats are already superior. The teacher gets salty about the disrespect. But then the comedy track cuts out. The master's face goes dark. He asks why Iren didn't just game end them. Iren freezes. He senses the danger in the air and swallows hard. The master drops a ruthless proposal. Since the peace treaty is dead, he suggests they just delete every single enemy right now. No witnesses. No sequel. Iren argues that respawns are infinite. More humans will just take their place. The master nods. That is exactly why he wants a server wipe. Total human deletion. He decides that understanding is no longer an option. The bridge between their worlds has burned down. Connection lost. The master doubles down. He claims humans are broken garbage, but Iren's brain flashes back. He sees the girl who cheered for him, the rival who trusted him. He rejects the doomer mindset. He opens his mouth to give his answer.